Wait for the recording. It's great. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Agile Minds Romania. I'm Bogdan Basilescu, and together with my co-organizing partners, Cristina Lupu, Mihai Olaru, and Florin Manonescu, who's not with us yet, we're basically very passionate about sharing agility in all domains. So whether you're an Agile veteran or even new to this domain of knowledge, you're welcome to share your insights, learn from each other, and basically improve our way of working together. Tonight, we're hosting our virtual lean coffee session. You can see it up there. I'm not in a coffee shop, but at least I'm trying to make it feel like it, where we're going to be diving deep into some topics that you guys will be proposing. We're going to be harnessing our collective intelligence and experience, and while enjoying a cup of coffee. So that's, let's say, the event that we're proposing for today. Before we jump into the format, and I'm going to share the Miro board, just be advised, if you hear some background noise coming from my side, it's probably my daughter who's trying to break the door because she's hearing me speak as we talk at the moment. But I'm still safe for the next 1.5 hours, so it's fine. Okay, Christina, I think we can reshare the link to the Miro board. Can I have a thumbs up if you guys see my screen? Thank you. So before we kick it off, if you guys managed to join, the very quick, let's say, technical setup exercise that we're gonna do is try to drop one token that you see here on one of these maybe familiar or not so familiar memes from the internet. For sure, this one needs translation because this is a photo that I took from the streets I don't think it's in Bucharest though. It's a city in Romania, but it's still funny because it says here Agile, and this is basically a commercial for basically salami and other stuff. So I don't know if eating meat makes you agile, but at least you can try. It's not. I'm not a partner of the company though. So let me. Okay, I'm seeing movement here. Just to make sure we're all here, because basically what we're gonna do is gonna be a lot of work on the Miro board. I see my daughter there when she's looking at me when I don't give her, let's say, the food that she wants. I see end of sprint for somebody. Okay, so you guys don't start on Monday and end on Friday. You basically start on Wednesday probably, or you end on Wednesday and you start on Thursday. That counts as well.
And nobody went swimming today.
That would be nice. I don't know if for our foreign speakers know who this person actually is, but if they watched maybe the Olympiad, they might know.
He even swims in sprints, guys. So,
cool. Thank you, thank you, Vlad, for that in.
Always, man.
So thank you very much, everybody, for jumping into the first one. I'm going to share with you a bit of our agreement that we have for all the meetups that we hold. It's probably very familiar for you, the Scrum values that you see there: focus, openness, courage, commitment, and respect. We try to embed it in everything that we do. A few examples, as I've already recalled, it's sharing your experience, keep your mic off when your guys are not speaking, and share your camera when possible. You probably know the principle: face-to-face communication is the most effective way of conveying information. So we appreciate that part. Before jumping and explaining you the how part, I would like to share with you the why part for this type of sessions. Probably you all found yourselves wondering how much time you waste in meetings, right? How disengaged you are when you're not accountable for creating an agenda. How much time you spent on actually creating a formal agenda. Wouldn't it be great to remove all that waste and use your time effectively? Well, not only me or you gave this a thought. Two guys from Seattle actually thought about this idea, and they invented this format, which basically still keeps the structure of the meeting, but the meeting doesn't have an agenda. The agenda is basically created by the group that wants to show up and learn and create something interesting with a bunch of like-minded people. So that's the why and also the what behind the lean structure format, the lean coffee format, sorry. So how we're going to be tackling tonight? We're going to be brainstorming our topics that we will be proposing. We're going to be giving, let's say, 15 seconds, 30 seconds just to pitch our topics. We're going to be ordering these topics in a backlog. We're going to be voting these topics based on that. And we're going to be discussing them based on the top order. But keep in mind, it's not like in Scrum. It's not the maximum value. It's the maximum interest that we have in that topic. So any topics that might not be discussed tonight, because we have a time box though, will be part of the backlog for our next session. And if the interest is still there, those will get voted and will be discussed. After each discussion slot, we will be sharing our takeaways with the rest of the group. And after 8 minutes, we will be assessing the interest. What does that mean? Basically, we're going to vote if we continue the topic for the next 4 minutes or not. So this is the how part for the lean coffee format. That's why I said it's going to be interactive. So we're going to be sharing a lot of experience in this time that we still have. I'm going to share with you the backlog. That's why I did the technical setup in the beginning, because we're going to be using this backlog to add in our topics that we want to discuss for the next 3 minutes. But before we jump into, let's say, the actual activity, does anybody have any questions, or did you guys use Miro before? If not, it's very, very easy. You just click on an item, double click and write your thoughts there. Then write another one and try to keep it basically singular. So don't, to be atomic. The item needs to be atomic. It needs not to be mixed up with some other topic because it's going to be voted. So I don't see any hands raised or anybody unmuted. So I'm going to start the counter and enjoy the brainstorming.
So that's 3 minutes, Bogdan, for coming up with topics.
Yes, 3 minutes for coming up with topics.
Okay. So we can contribute to more than one each, right?
That's correct. I've added quite a bit of, let's say, predefined items, but feel free to edit any of those. So you don't need to add necessarily another item at the end. I'm going to need your help, guys, by the way.
If we have extra time, then we can do some backlog refinement, right?
We will do a bit, but just to refine, let's say, in terms of voting the items. So the top most important ones. We're not going to refine in terms of the size of an item and split it into more. Or maybe, who knows, if somebody writes a big idea, we could do it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mihai. By the way, if you run out of topics, just raise your hand. It's a time box, so if you're all ready, we can end it.
Didn't run out of topics, but just a comment, Bogdan.
Yes, Vlad.
Is the first slot reserved for a product owner? I see nobody wants to put the first slot there.
Probably because they are expecting to talk first. I don't know.
I gotcha. Okay.
So guys, you still have time.
Trade, man.
Exactly. You still have time. If you added the topics here in the beginning, you can copy paste it and add it to the end in order to speak at the end. No, I'm joking. It's just 15 seconds. Come on.
That's my strategy, actually.
Ah,
I have the
look.
last topic.
That's so gonna backfire on you, Victor.
Okay. Prepare to leave your virtual pens down. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so now I'm gonna delete the empty one. So the one that was second, unfortunately, is gonna talk the first. Okay, great. So as I said, now we're gonna be giving, let's say, 2 minutes just to vote this once. Creating the voting space. So we're gonna be having 3 votes each. We can vote only once, one item. So feel free to use all your votes, and then you close basically the voting session for you. When everybody's done,
The
yes,
15-second session to give a
yes, that's
chance
correct, Mihai. That's correct.
yeah,
I skipped
maybe
that part. It's a
maybe
good
give
reminder.
people a chance to explain what the topic is about.
So thank you very much, Mihai, for mentioning that part. So tackling Scrumfall. Really curious about this one. The Scrumfall. I heard the term before, so it's not new. Who added this one? If it can pitch it for 15 seconds just to add more context to these items, that would be important for the debates that are going to happen.
That would be mine, Bogdan. Should I pitch it now or
Yes,
were
please,
we
Vlad.
waiting for? Sure, absolutely. So 15 seconds or less. So I just wanted to get the group's feedback here and ideas about how do you tackle Scrumfall. And by Scrumfall, I mean those rare, not necessarily rare, those frequent instances where you have a mixture of waterfall logic and with Scrum smacked in the middle of it and then go back to waterfall again. And it poses some challenges. I'm sorry, I went over 2 seconds.
No, no, it's a big context to give, but it's combining, yeah, exactly the waterfall and the Scrum approach, trying to, let's say, do the best of both worlds. Okay, thank you very much, Vlad. The next item, and actually based on this feedback, since this 15 seconds is quite few, so I'm sorry, Vlad, for that. I'm going to extend it to 30. So who's the next one?
No worries there because it's still mine.
Ah, great, great. So now I'm adapting based on the self-assessment feedback.
And exactly. And I was doing time management. I took 2 seconds there, but threw in another one. So most valuable courses for Agilists. And as we know, Agile, as everything else in the world in the past couple of years, has really, really changed and adapted. Everything's more fast-paced, everything's more, let's say you need to wear multiple hats. And I'm just curious about you guys' feedback about some of the most valuable courses and let's say and I'm not going to limit it to courses, educational materials that someone with an agilist role can undertake to boost that, skill set and everything.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vlad. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. So now I'm not going to adjust it anymore. So we're going to leave it to 30 seconds. The next person is AI changing the agile space and how?
This is mine. So knowing I have 30 seconds, I have to come up with other words to fill in the time, right?
It's a time box,
Uh,
Mihai. We can stop.
it's just a question, guys. So what I'm thinking is team size maybe is influenced by this, and also maybe anybody using some agentic AI as team members to your teams in Agile. Not much to share, but very curious if you have something.
Thank you very much, Mihai, for raising the question. Next one, still related actually to that one.
Yes, it is. It's a topic I chose. Uh, just like Mihai said, I'm also curious about the AI tools and which of them agile people are using, besides the most popular, for instance, ChatGPT. I'm just curious if those working in agile already are using AI tools and which one. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Ivana. Actually, probably now thinking about these two questions, maybe we can add even some grouping. Uh, Is it fine for Iwana and Mihai if I group this two? Okay. Great. Next one. I'm really curious about vibe coding. The
Yep.
floor is yours, Aaron.
Thank you. So what I was thinking about is of late I've come across this term vibe coding, which is with given AI, given cursor, given replit and other things. It's more about being very spontaneous, not very structured, being into depending on your intuition, what you feel, gut feeling, just very rapidly prototyping things, like breaking things on the flow. And it's much less structured than any normal development practice. So I was curious whether anyone's heard about this in small scale companies and how well a
You
moment
still
and
can finish. You still can finish it.
and whether in your normal sprint you started using dev tools like this and how it affects your sprint. So sort of related to the others, especially with like the agent thing.
True. It's still an AI question.
Right.
So is it fine for you, Aaron, if I combine it with the one above?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. Next one. Mental ways to be present in a meeting.
Yeah, that's mine. So I just wanted to add some little psychology. It's not strictly related to agile, but it's about how to be present in a meeting as a moderator, as a manager, as a trainer, and how you can use different ways of adding value. And it's enough.
You can
Thanks.
still finish, Christine.
No, it's just from a psychology point of view.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
So let's say those traits, right? What traits do you need to have in order to read the room, either in a virtual environment or in a physical environment, right? As you said, as a moderator, facilitator, or leader of the team. Okay. Thank you very much.
You'd be great at giving us tips here, Bogdan. You're doing a great job.
Not giving any spoilers, okay? Next one, scaling agile as the company grows.
Yes, that one's from me. I'd almost forgotten. So, we notice once you reach a certain stage of rapid growth, you tend to grow your tech and product teams at exponential rate. You have new cultures creeping in. It's very nice to say I want to hire exactly for my culture, but it's harder in practice. And when things like this happen, sometimes you need to train your developers and your new people about agile, figure out how you work and all of that together. So what are the challenges that you would normally face and how do you hedge against them or how do you work around them?
Very tough one, Aaron. Very tough one, but very, very important. Okay, nice. Thank you. Thank you for raising it. And the last one.
Yep, that's mine. So what's happening right now? I'm working. First of all, I'm new at this, so hello everyone. What's happening right now? I have a small project of implementing automation testing with a certain tool. Right now, it's really small. I have 5 people. It goes swimmingly. Everything is perfect. After I finish this phase, I'll have to go to actually 40 or 60 people, if I'm not mistaken, working on the same project. And I was wondering if you can share with me some ideas of some things that all of us can do or you did in order for me to prepare for the upcoming shock that I'll have.
Challenge. let's quote it as challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing, Victor. Same as for the previous ones. Could we group it? Is it fine for you, Victor? With Aaron's one, with scaling agile as the company grows.
It's fine from my side.
Yes.
If Aaron's okay with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. So I've included that one. So that being said, and thank you very much, Mihai, and sorry guys for my previous mistake of jumping on top, let's say, of this very important part. Now we're going to be actually voting these items, and thank you for the context that was provided. We still have probably the 3 votes. 2 minutes, I think it's too much. I'm going to leave it to 1 minute, but it's still a time box. You raise your hands and we stop it. It could be 10 seconds. To vote these 5 items that are the topics for tonight. I'm going to start the session now. Okay, 1 person remaining. That's great. So I'm ending the session. Let's see the results. So AI, unexpectedly, AI came on top. I mean, who would have thought about it, right? So let's do a bit of reordering now. So as I mentioned, we're ordering them based on the top interest, not the top value that it has. And this is the order that we have for tonight. If we reach the 4th topic, we're gonna discuss and vote again. So let's not spend too much time on the explanations. Let's bring into discussing. And let's switch to the next part, which basically is actually diving into this topic that we have for tonight. I'm actually thinking now, since I'm looking at how many people we are, if it's worth doing a breakout room or not. We are right there in terms of the topics. What do you guys think? I would probably split it if everybody's fine with that. Split into 2 breakout rooms. So we have 6 sticky notes here. I'm going to change the color just for the sakes of differentiating the 2 groups that we will have. And the challenge for the next 8 minutes for you is just to self-manage. Self-manage around what? On keeping the time box. So we're going to be starting the 8 minutes counter. Please try to give everybody space to speak up and share their thoughts. Extract the takeaways on the sticky notes. To share it, of course, it will help you share the insights with the rest of the group. And be prepared, one of you volunteered, of course. We don't force anybody here, just to share for the next 1 minute with everybody what were the insights of their respective group. Before we do the breakout rooms, as we speak now, does anybody have any questions? No questions. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing the 2 breakout rooms now. Okay, giving the 60 seconds. Probably you guys are gonna have 9 minutes actually. So no, I'm gonna put 7 just to. So don't exit the room. If you still see the counter with 60 seconds, don't exit the room. Remain there until the end, just to keep it with 8 minutes. So I'm gonna open the rooms now. Christina and Mihai, you will need to bring, actually select a room. And I don't see Victor. It's weird because it appears like, okay, he joined. It's
I
great.
will join room 2.
Okay, I'll go to room 1.
Else having experience can be the presenter.
Understood. Hey, Mihai.
Hi guys. So two Mihais, one Valentin, one Aaron. Yeah. Nice meeting you guys. All of you human, right?
Somewhat. Depends on the day.
So what a topic, right?
Yeah, it's actually a big one, and I was actually curious about this one myself. I actually voted for it too, because I know AI is kind of changing a lot of things, but it depends on how you're seeing it. And I wanted to gauge your feedback as well. Do you see it as a disruptive thing, or do you see it as a help or a productivity tool? Or what's
Good
your
question.
experience been so far?
Both of them.
Why the disruption and why the productivity, Mihai? I'm super curious.
Yes, it's really disruptor, and I think smart people will use it as a tool, not as a threat. So at least this is my view on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've used it. I've been playing the role of a project manager and the Scrum Master for quite a while now. And I personally see it as a productivity tool because it does allow me to scour through vast volumes of data really quick. And it's not going to do things for you. It's not going to, but it does give you an insight on where you could look, if you have any issues with your Scott or with your code or with everything, it does give you a starting point. So that's kind of the extent that I've used the AI chatbot so far.
Okay, so for me, I think it is going to be a disruptor. I'm not sure if it is there yet. So I was very curious about Aaron's topic with how does this work for people who try to use it for coding from scratch and maybe relying on the results that the AI produces. And maybe, I don't know, does it produce technical debt? Is it hard to, or is it difficult to debug it? What's going on there? Because my perception is it's not yet there to be a disruptor, but I think it promises to become one. And for now, it's a nice tool, but the most interesting things I've seen created or generated by it are still, I don't know, not so valuable, impressive. Like, I don't know, have Michelle Pfeiffer talk to you about daily Scrum.
Now that's a use case.
Yeah, so to me, it's impressive, but it's not very useful. So yeah, that's my perception so far.
Right. So I work as a software engineer. I've definitely been using AI to help me code, do certain research things like Vlad. So I think Valentin or Vlad, because no.
I actually go by Vladman, whatever is best for you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, like you mentioned, using it to scour like vast amounts of data, really condense something for you, that's proven very useful. I used Cursor, started recently. I also used like GitHub Copilot. In terms of writing code, it's brilliant, especially for, let's say, quick atomic functions, right? Like as a very simple example, something that we would all answer, let's say just sorting an array as an example. Sure, it'll take me, let's say, okay, some maybe a little bit more complicated, the sorting array. Maybe it'll take me like 2 to 5 minutes, right? I can just give a prompt and it's like done in 30 seconds. And without having to worry about the algorithm and all of that. And 90% of the time, it works great. Of course, sometimes you need to tweak a little things. For me, the main challenge personally has been, again, so it's in a brownfield project, this is how I use it. In a greenfield project, it's helps in very rapid prototyping. So like I had to launch a quick new service for, let's say, a certain game, a game use case. I could prototype the entire thing like in a day, which would have normally taken like a week earlier. So I just spun up Replit, I had like the $20 in credits, whatever, had everything set up, like SSO, all of that jazz, very simple. Debugging it, like asked about Mihai, was an absolute nightmare because I had absolutely no clue what was going on. And this is coming from someone who's like been coding for like 10 years. So like I know my stuff sufficiently well enough, but it was an absolute nightmare. It's brilliant for POCs. For me, the main trouble has been that, let's say, certain stakeholders don't necessarily understand the difference over here. So you go to Twitter, you go to LinkedIn, you can say like, hey, someone built this like really cool thing, like, like a travel website, some new thing in a few hours. And they say, why can't we do the same? But if you do it with a brownfield project, it will literally like break everything you have. That has been my experience.
I'm curious about something, Aaron, if I can ask. So you're in software engineering, and I can tell that you've been doing software engineering for quite a while now. Do you think it's more useful for people that are just joining the field, like juniors or I don't know, the junior to mid-level devs, but less useful at the scales down to more tenured individuals in the coding field?
Yeah, great question. So I think one way it would help juniors and even anyone new to a project is, let's say, I can quickly say like, hey, you know what, summarize these things, help me find exactly where this would be in my code base. And this is a bug that I see. AI would be great at giving you, let's say, a quick summary over there instead of like going to your colleague. But when you get into like very domain specific things, AI, in my experience, has like completely broken down just because it cannot add get the entire picture across all our services.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So then from your proposed topic, the vibe coding, are you using it on the green field, on the
Only on the
prototyping
green
mode?
field, like the gaming thing I mentioned, like I was doing it there. If we did it like in any of our brownfield projects, it would be like, we would have a prod downtime for like hours, days, who knows.
Yeah, yeah. So I assume, yeah, because in an environment where you have a lot of dependencies and a lot of business knowledge already incorporated into your code, it's
Right.
probably way more difficult for an engine like LLM to comprehend that, right, and do something useful about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Miha, you have your hand raised as well.
Yes, my intention was to start with a question. What tools and for what use cases, what processes are you using AI these days? We came with this example of GitHub Copilot and Cursor. I understand is the use case of writing code. I heard that estimate next year the AI will be better coder than humans. So maybe, but for what other use cases and what tools are you using?
We're almost out of time, but very quickly, I use like ChatGPT for like a ton of research, comparing quick providers and things like
Okay.
that.
Welcome back.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna reshare the screen now. Great. So I'm really curious. I want to hear your feedback. Did the 60 seconds give you a reminder to fill in something on the board, or did it act like, oh my God, we still need to keep the time box? Really curious to hear that one. I left it intentionally, those 60 seconds to act as a reminder.
I don't think I even saw that, but I saw your message, Bogdan, 2 minutes before the closing.
So that's still a feedback. So I'm going to adapt. The next breakout room, I'm going to remove those 60 seconds and just broadcast you guys that
That's
part.
maybe just me, but the chat you put in for all the breakouts 2 minutes before closing, that I spotted.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But
Thank
I
you,
think
Mihai,
the
for the
subject was
feedback.
too engaging actually to give the Zoom too much focus.
True. Imagine 3 topics in 8 minutes. It should have been 24. But let's see. Let's assess. So I'm really curious to see and actually to hear what you guys have talked about. Did you pick a volunteer from any of the two groups to share the insights?
I think we neglected that.
I volunteer myself as a tribute.
Please, Victor. Offer yourself as a knowledge sacrifice. Let's call it like that.
Okay, so in the first group, we discussed firstly on the part of is AI changing the agile space. It is changing. It is changing the agile space, but based on my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's changing more the way we work. It will lead on a longer time frame. It will lead to delivering more with smaller teams. And just before we were closing out on this was a question and a discussion about is AI gonna breach the technical gap and transform Scrum and make us move from Scrum to extreme programming? And
Okay.
then there was a brutal exit, which did not allow us to continue our
Come on,
interesting topic.
It wasn't that brutal. You had those 60 seconds.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
going to
I
be
know.
brutal the next time because based on the feedback, we will adapt. So thank you very much, Victor, for sharing. I identified that you were part of the right side, let's say, of the board. Very valuable insights. Do we have a volunteer from the second group?
We can take this one, Aaron and Mihai, if you guys are okay with that.
Please,
Yeah,
Vlad.
I see the head nod, so I'm good. All right, so for us, it was a really interesting conversation from the get-go because we were trying to discern if the AI tools, LLMs, and everything that's going on in the market right now are disruptors or are they going to be productivity hacks. And I think the answer that we arrived at, it is going to be a disruptor. We don't think it's yet there because there's much evolution to be had, much adaptation for the specific use cases and silos of knowledge and everything. We did, however, establish that it is a bit more useful for junior level developers, for instance, or people that are just joining the industry just due to the productivity benefits that it gives you. And one example that we were discussing was due to these AI chatbots and everything, you name it, if it's either GPT, Claude, or etc. And Aaron, I'm forgetting one that you referenced there, GitHub Copilot, and there was another one.
Of course,
I
so.
can't remember. Oh, yeah,
Cursor.
Cursor, exactly. Very efficient at analyzing vast amounts of data. I mean, if you need, let's say, a short executive summary of everything, it's going to give it to you. And time's up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vlad. Actually, Cursor, it's quite useful, especially for the developers. I mean, I even prototyped a few landing pages for my website with Cursor, and it's very fast. So it's a very good topic to discuss. Okay, so thank you both groups for sharing. Now, if you guys have watched Survival, it's time to vote. So let's choose the fate of the current topic that we have. You guys give a thumbs up if we continue the discussion on this topic, or you give a thumbs down if we move on to the next one. We can do it since everybody's sharing the camera. We can do it on camera because it's much faster. So we're going to be extending actually the time. This is probably, let's discuss 4 minutes or 8 minutes, considering we have 3 topics that probably not all of them have been discussed. Do we go for 4 or do we go for 8? Let's see who goes for 8. 3 people. Okay, so we go for 4 in terms of the extension. So now let's vote who would like to continue the topic or not. Raise your thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs down, thumbs up. Thumbs down. 2, 2. 3, 2. 4, 2. 5 thumbs up. Okay, so we move on with the topic and we extend it with 4 minutes. Actually, we can use the same board because it doesn't make sense to create a new one, but I will adapt based on Mihai's feedback and give you guys 8 minutes and 10 seconds because I cannot put 0, unfortunately, on Zoom for the next time box. So actually 4 minutes and 10 seconds based on the voting. So I'm going to be opening the rooms now. Enjoy the discussion.
Lord. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. Guys, for the topic I came up with, I don't think I did get too much feedback on it. The agile space is changing, right? But that can mean what? Like smaller teams, maybe changing roles or responsibilities, accountabilities, maybe more teams or more frequently changing teams or fluid teams. What do you see here as a result of using these tools more often in building products?
I think I can take a stab at just my personal opinion here, guys. Honestly, Mihai, I think it's going to change a lot how the teams are structured at this point because let me give you the normal example of an agile team. You have your scrum master, product owner, let's say devs, testers, designers, and etc., etc. I think in time, the team size is going to shrink because you're going to have AI colleagues or AI agents acting as colleagues and everything, just delivering things quite rapidly to you. And then you're going to have your senior people on the team. Everyone's going to be a bit more senior, where they're going to have to, cross check, validate that the AI work is okay and it fits the context and everything. So I do see a lot of more granular teams in the future, supplemented by AI colleagues. I'm not yet sure how that's going to look like in the future because I don't think there's going to be less human people doing it, but I think the jobs are going to change. You're going to have to be your own little AI manager within your squad, regardless, agnostic of role. Just my doomsday prophecy there.
Thanks, Vlad. Any other consideration? Maybe for how long would the team stay in the same structure? Any thoughts?
So Vlad, you want to automate only the technical guys, not the
No. I mean, you know, it's gonna fill in blanks for a Scrum Master, for instance, because right now, as a Scrum Master, you're gonna be facilitating a lot and so on and so forth. I mean, if let's think of a use case. If on a retrospective with the team, everyone's gonna say, "Man, we have too many meetings, and I hate talking 1 hour and a half when we should be doing this for like 45 minutes." If you have an AI agent there, they're gonna adapt to the entire cadence of things, etc., based on the team's feedback. So the role of a Scrum Master no longer will be as much of a, I don't know, have a administrative part, but it will be more into the coaching portion, which will diminish, of course. So you can have one Scrum Master. Right now, the norm is, I think, 2 to 3 teams or something. I think you could get to a Scrum Master for like 4 or 5 teams, or 5 to 6 or something. So it will replace parts of the role, but not entirely, Mihai, because it's still that human to human
Okay,
connection.
so still a helper, still a copilot, but you
Mhm.
are still on the driving seat for that role.
Yep, exactly. At
So
one
maybe-
point, I had the dev throw something at me, and I wish I had an AI pilot to just catch that mug that was going straight to my face. So
Maybe you could have one human Scrum Master for 5 teams, but that human Scrum Master has a AI agent assistant.
that works. That works. And just to answer, if I might just take 30 more seconds, the product owner role, I think, is a bit more critical there, because on a product side, you're going to have to be the interface between the business and the teams that directly. Seeing as how, in my personal experience, most of the teams are run from a top down, the business comes into engineering and so on and so forth, that's going to be a hard sell to, automate as much.
Time out.
Welcome back. Last thought, Aaron, if you want to close your sentence from the room.
No, I was just saying the 4 minutes just flew by before we even realized.
I'll shut up for the next one, guys, I promise.
You're too optimistic on the sizing, guys. I mean, next time we need to improve it. Okay, so who would like to share this time? I'm gonna share my board.
So we can start this time. I think we mostly talked about the topic I brought initially as what is changing in the agile space in our group. And since Vlad did most of the talking this round, I'll take over from him and try to summarize a bit. So some opinions were about team structure that is going to change towards probably smaller teams. Because you won't need too many technical skilled similar people in the team. You might have help from some AI agents doing some of the technical work, but as well some Scrum Master accountabilities could be improved or made more effective by some AI agents as well. We thought maybe having a shared Scrum Master, human Scrum Master for more teams would be something more regular and with some AI agent help to do the job. Product owner, not so much. We think the product owner will still be mostly human.
Okay. So no cyborg yet. Okay. Thank you very much, Mihai, for sharing the insights of your group. The second group.
Basically, in the second group, we discuss about if AI is possible to replace as a facilitator role. And we came to the conclusion this not yet. The AGI is still in the future. So at the moment, it's just a helpful tool for facilitating events or meetings, because it's not ready to take over as a people manager, understanding people, helping them, and also doing the facilitation role. It is a tool. It could help, but not yet ready.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing, Florin. I guess those are the insights. Now you already know about choosing the fate, right? You chose it once. You said 4 minutes was not enough, but I'm really curious what's the vote on this one now. So cast your votes. I don't have the survivor music to put as a background though. Thumbs down, 4 thumbs down. I guess the fate has been decided. You are out of the backlog, or as we call it, discussed. Great. What's the next one? Agile scaling as a company grows, how to scale Scrum processes and more complex projects. This is the next topic that we have. Same rules as before. So keeping the time box, benefiting the collective intelligence, extracting the takeaways, and be prepared to share. Without starting the rooms yet, do you want to mix the rooms or should I keep the same structure of the rooms? You don't have any preferences or?
Mix it.
Mix it. Okay, then I'm going to mix it in this case. Recreate the rooms. Okay, you guys are mixed up now. I'm going to change it to 8 minutes and still leave the sudden break. Okay, 10 seconds left just to exit. Opening the rooms now. Mihai, va trebui să intri tu.
Da, păi am să vorbesc cu Cristina. Which one are you joining, Cristina?
I can go for room 1.
Okay, I'll join too.
We should speak English if recording started.
Yeah, I think the recording is coming with me, right? So sorry, guys. Every time I join, the recording.
You are an AI agent.
Already started. Trust me, it's not starting every time. But
That's
it's
why you're
coming with
defending
me.
AI, Mihai.
Okay, we're losing time. We're losing precious time. Sorry, guys.
So scaling.
So the topic is scaling, right? So as I understand, the questions were more around what type of changes or problems should we expect when we try to scale the Scrum way of working in a larger environment? What are the, I don't know, culture or local policies, or how are they interacting with this new way of working? What to expect as challenges?
I'll just take 30 seconds to offer my personal experience with that. So, timer starts now. In my experience so far, I've seen agility being deployed and frameworks of agility being deployed on all sizes of companies. What I think some of the companies get wrong, they go too big, too fast from the get-go, and that usually does not work. You need to refine your base process. So let's take Scrum, for instance. If you nail simple Scrum, the simplest form of Scrum, you're going to be in a good place to scale once your organizational needs evolve, once you get more teams, more ambitious products and stuff like that. But I think the key there is nailing the basics. And I think that's where most companies go wrong, fortunately. They go for full-blown scaled agile framework implementations where the least of Scrum is not yet there.
Okay, thank you, Vlad. Ioana, what do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a limited experience with scaling. I just read about SAFe and also read some articles which emphasize the idea that Valentin mentioned that some companies tried SAFe or other scaling frameworks and they didn't prepare enough or didn't have a planning, or I don't know, they started too rough from the beginning and it was a lot of challenges on the go. Also, I've heard of some companies switching from SAFe to Scrum again because they didn't, I don't know, SAFe didn't meet their needs or not sure.
Okay.
The roots.
I can elaborate on your idea, Ioana, and I think I've seen some situations where trouble comes in when you try to massively apply a framework for a group of, I don't know, 6 teams, 7 teams, 10 teams, or whatever. You try actually, you're trying to map the development processes from 6, 10 teams differently to a single process. And sometimes that doesn't match. Like, for example, team cadence. For one team, it's nice to have 2 week sprints. For one team, it would have been nicer to keep them to 1 month. But when you're doing a scaled environment implementation of Agile, you somehow need to synchronize, right? And there are compromises here and there, compromises on accountability split, who's doing what. Now, because we have a higher hierarchy of teams, we have dependencies of other decisions being taken in a different place. We like to take our decisions this way, but they do it differently. So now we have to match. All sorts of things that I think are creating an extra burden, right? So for now, I prefer frameworks that say, or at least declare, we try to unscale the way we do Agile by not using the same practices all over, and leaving as much space for autonomy in each place, in each team. That's what I've seen.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Anna. Mihai, you had a...
Yes. My experience was, I was in a productized organization, and imposing a top-down approach to scaling Agile was not working. And each little product organization was like a kingdom, and then each of them choose to have their own process, their own tool, their own way of doing, name it Scrum, Kanban, XP, mob programming, whatever. And then I'm not sure if aligning on some conventions like sprint length. I don't have any sprint. I just deliver continuously. Why I should align on that? So maybe going back to the Agile Manifesto, what are the real values we try to achieve? That is the point. And in my case, it was more like a wild, wild west, but some simple principle like Scrum of Scrums, having people talking together, they defining if they want to have a Scrum or review or whatever was more valuable than adopting.
I think team formation also becomes very important, because if you manage to form teams in such a way that you keep dependencies to a minimum between teams, there is no actual need for so much interaction and process of working together. But sometimes that's possible, sometimes not. To actually involve people in the way the teams are getting formed. Hey, what do you need in this team to have the things going, right? Who do you need, or how do you think this team can be shaped better? I took part in a workshop just 1 week ago, and in a group of 25 people, they had to split in 3 teams. It was a struggle. It took 1 day long, but they did it. So at the end of the day, they say, well, now we think with this smaller structured team, we can actually work better together in that smaller group, and we hope not to have too much dependencies on the others. And this autonomy of bringing the decision of the people in how to form the teams, I think it helps a lot.
Vlad?
Yeah, thanks for letting me. Hi. I just had one comment to your previous experience and everything, and I think there's also a big factor there when you're scaling for, let's say, medium to large organization. The business function also has a very strong word to play, because they're gonna have a bit of trouble digesting the complexity of a large scale Scrum enterprise and everything. So they're still gonna be back to old habits. Like, I don't care what you guys have in place. I just want my update and leave me alone. You know, give me a status update meeting or something. So we're talking about magic, but we need the right horse.
Welcome back. As you might have noticed, AI has malfunctioned. It gave the message before it should, so sorry for that. Okay, I'm gonna share the board. Really curious the insights of the rooms. Who would like to share? Maybe somebody that didn't talk before. It's still quiet? Nobody?
I can try for the room number 2.
Thank you, Mihai. Thank you for sacrificing.
Yes. Our discussion was in between two options, having scale agile top down, or questioning if we really need it and to have a bottom up
Okay.
approach. It was discussion if we really need to align on some processes like I see here definition of done or sprint length or whatever. And then maybe we can go back to Agile Manifesto to real value what we'll gain by having multiple people coordinating on the projects. And the real problem with complex projects is about dependencies. Then you need to coordinate. So maybe instead of having high ambitions to scale agile, maybe we can look into dependencies and maybe take complexity down. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a discussion. I mean, this type of discussion, you grab a coffee or multiple coffees, and you discuss for days on this topic because it's a very challenging one. So thank you very much, Mihai, for sharing the insights. Somebody from the other group, and thank you as well for the courage to speak up. It's leading by example. Come on, who's left?
Roman. So we had both colleagues that proposed these themes in this group. So there were some specific examples that we went through. But as Mihai mentioned, we touched upon dependencies and asking ourselves, do we really need to scale as the first question? But in the end, if we really need to do that, we have to have some shared goals and shared values between everyone participating to the scaling exercise. Definitely shared definition of done with all the teams working on the same product backlog. And backlog refinement transforms into something different than what we have with a single team. Definitely needs more upfront work before facilitating a poker planning session, for instance, making sure the team is not seeing that for the first time. So product owners and Scrum Masters and team representatives need to get together earlier and create some formal understanding of those PBIs before those sessions. And of course, get studying on some agile scaling framework and choose the one that best fits your context. All of them bring some sort of overhead, and it really matters on the organization and how much they are willing to change in order for each of these to work. So yeah, this is about what we were able to capture in the 8 minutes we had.
Thank you very much, Christina. Combining the two insights from both groups, you're correct. I mean, it's the if, right? If we need to scale, that's the first if, talking about the technical part. Then we have another if we scale, how do we scale? If we choose a framework, which is that framework? So it's a lot of ifs. Who knows? Maybe in the nearby future, we might have an assisted AI with some answers to these questions, or even one that assesses the situation and might provide a solution. So who knows? I see, Mihai, you raised your hand first, so you have a question, I suppose?
Not a question, maybe something I didn't have to express my opinion in that smaller room.
Sure, please.
From my perspective, I don't care if the company grows. Yes, I care. They pay our money, but I should care scaling my team. And then this was my approach, caring about, this was my point of view about scalability. I'm not sure if you got my point, but yes.
Not exactly. You're referring to we shouldn't choose how the company would scale. So how to scale your own team in terms of bringing new members? This is what you're saying? Like instead of adding multiple teams, just increasing the size of a team?
Instead of having a framework imposed top-down, my interest and approach was to have my team agile, being involved in multiple projects, how I can work better with those teams, regardless maybe of a formal scaled agile framework or so.
Like reaching that cross functionality, I suppose you're referring to that one, like touching all the parts of the product that your team is probably
If
working
something
on.
is relevant, like definition of done, aligning sprints, planning poker together, backlog rooming together, we should have it, otherwise not. And also the problem is with complexity. So we should look onto dependencies and then simplifying as much as possible, then maybe we can.
Something like this scale to scale, something like that.
I use the term scaling my team.
Okay, fair enough. So thank you, Mihai. Vlad, you also had a thought, a statement, or question?
I have one comment, one question for you, Bogdan, and one for Mihai. So the comment would be, I do sense that all of us here have this, I don't know if it's just me. I think everyone's a bit fatigued by all of these large scale transformations that some of them worked, some of them haven't. I don't know. You guys let me know if that's true or not. I sense a few yeses there.
You combined the comment with the question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it was just a confirmation of sorts. Can I ask Mihai a question, Bogdan? I don't want to run over time or anything.
Yeah, sure. Please.
So, Mihai, I thought your point was very, very interesting about focusing on scaling your team. But what would you do? And this is a, I don't know, imaginative exercise. If your team is 10 agile teams, if your direct team, you're in that position where your team's the entire organization, how would you tackle that one?
My team was 15 people.
Let's say they're 200. Would you still go for the same approach?
That's why I needed this scale in my team. I try to slice and dice it into smaller project teams, name it like that. And then each of the project collaborated part of the broader project with the others. And it was very important to have this engineering practices like continuous integration, continuous delivery. It was more important than having meetings together. More valuable was to have people talking together, having the technical capabilities to try and iterate the product and so on.
Thanks, Mihai. So if I can have one takeaway out of what you just said, I'm guessing team structure, and the good team structure is just as quintessential as scaling is.
Yes, and we need to have those teams self-driven, autonomous. They need to can choose their processes, not to be imposed how to work.
That sounds really healthy. I appreciate you for saying that.
I'm not sure if the culture in the organization is supporting that. Is not possible in all organizations, but at least this was my experience.
Our domain is very complex. Since we're not at the point where all of us are AIs or robots, we're working with the human factor, right? Which adds a lot of variation in terms of works and team composition. So sometimes it might be the organization, sometimes it might be, let's say, how the people collaborate. It's still the environment. So that's the first way of viewing it. But still, as you guys mentioned, you need to start with a team. So that's the common point. Start with a team, create a great team, lead by example, and hope that other teams might follow through. Okay.
I will start with the dependencies.
Exactly. Solve the dependencies, try to minimize the dependencies, and scale then if needed. As Vlad said, if you have 200 people, then that's a situation that you might not bring all those 200 people in the same room in order to collaborate. Okay, let's cast the votes on this topic. I think we've already extended, right, with this discussion, but I'm still gonna give you guys the liberty to vote. If we extend it with 4 minutes or not, the current topic. 3 thumbs down. I see people 4 thumbs down, 5 thumbs down. So it's voted. You have been cast away as well. Okay, so the topic has been discussed. Tackling the Scrum fall. Very, very interesting. So I'm opening the board on this one.
Before we go away, Bogdan, can we ask Vlad
Yes.
to explain again what he wanted with that topic?
Yes, absolutely. Can I explain, Bogdan?
Sure, Vlad.
So I know most of us work in hybrid environments where there's a lot of moving portions to projects. Some of them are waterfall, some of them are agile and stuff. And I just want to learn from the group here how you tackle those transitions. Like you have, I don't know, ideation and requirements gathering. Mostly they're run in waterfall styles. And then when you go on to development and testing, then you go for Scrum and other agile practices.
Okay. Very good, let's say, kickoff for the discussions of the two groups. So thank you, Vlad, for sharing it.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Okay, so I'm opening the rooms now, unless there's any other add-ins or follow-up questions for Vlad, because of course Vlad cannot clone himself and be part of the both groups.
Yeah.
No follow-up questions. Probably those will follow after the discussion slot. So enjoy the discussion. See you in 8.
You are muted, me.
Yeah, I know. And me and my recording, we're back. So still the same group as last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I thought it was going to mix, but I'm happy to see you guys again.
Thank you.
Vlad, do you have some more insights? Like what happens after the iterations, right? You said you have analysis and maybe some design from waterfall, then development and testing come in sprints. What happens with the release? Is the release from the waterfall as well? It's a single release at the end?
That's kind of my question as well, Mihai, and I'm looking for everyone's insights here because in my experience so far, and if you think, beyond the agile team level and everything, for some of the roles, either if you're a project manager, product owner, scrum master, scrum project management, agile, whatever, you're always going to get dragged into multiple phases of a project, whereas if you're a pure agilist or a scrum master, for instance, you're going to be mostly dwelling in the development cycle. But now I see a lot of companies that are doing this thing where they involve all functions into the way early stages, like ideation, for instance, like portfolio management. And then you go for requirements gathering, which again is a function that's mostly focused on the business. And I'm not saying technical requirements, I'm saying project requirements. But then when you actually need to build the thing, the build portion of it, then everyone uses Scrum and everything. And those transitions at times can be hard. You miss requirements, people don't know what their role is and when their role should take effect and so on. And I was just curious for what the group has to say about that.
Have you experienced similar situations, maybe, Mihai?
I'm not sure I'm on the right topic, but my experience or my approach is to have a waterfallish way of doing things from the customer side. Need to be predictable with phases, milestones, whatever, while the team should be pure agile. And I think it's more important to have these technical capabilities like continuous integration, continuous delivery, everything automated, everything measured, observability, and so on. Because then you just deliver and decoupling delivery from release. I don't remember how was the idea is to decouple the technical process of delivering software through releasing to the customers.
Okay. So this would allow you to actually have multiple releases or more frequent releases, right? Without interfering with the customer's policy to
more frequent deployments.
Deployments, exactly. Without interacting with the customers, need to have scheduled releases, like only when they want. So what about the starting point that Vlad emphasized? He said, well, the team who's actually building the product is not the same team clarifying the requirements to begin with. It's just business people who talk to the customer. They collect the requirements, they come up with a bunch of stuff we need to build, and only then they pass it to the team who's building. Have you seen this, or how to tackle this?
But requirements are technical and functional, are not exact design screens and mock-ups how to implement, right?
It depends, Mihai, because if you're gonna go in front of a board at this point, they're gonna tell you, hey, I want this web page that shows fluffy rabbits or something. And I want it when I click the fluffy rabbit's head, I want it to generate $5 million. How you guys do that, that's on you. Find me a technical solution. That's the level where I'm talking about, honestly, because there are certain business people they're just gonna throw something over the fence, the engineering or development or whomever you want delivery, and they're gonna tell you, I don't care how you build it, but build it. This is a requirement. I want it to, I don't know, connect to 5 databases in 5 seconds or something. That's kind of the level that I'm talking. That initiation level, where they scope out everything. I'm guessing the keyword I'm looking for is scope.
So it's mostly business requirements, Valentin. Vlad, sorry.
It is. I'd love not to talk about them, but they're such a big part
Then the question
that we
is,
do.
would you find some benefit in exploring those business requirements by the team building the product before they become, I don't know, the scope of work for your product?
I think awareness is something that I'm looking for there, Mihai.
Awareness.
In my experience, yeah, awareness. Just be in the conversation. Not necessarily as an input provider, but be in the conversation.
What do you think generates this behavior, like having just business people involved in discussing business requirements?
Usually confusion.
So I'm thinking there could be like cultural things, like this is the way we do stuff, right? We just involve business people up to this point. It could be contractual part of the agreement that stipulate we have to have a clear definition of what we're going to build before we start building it. Maybe that's kind of a fixed price contract, and that states it should have detailed requirements before the team actually gets there. That could be another reason.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Mihai, because if let's say you have a group of business people, they're going to be deciding, okay, this is what we want, this is some of the features that we want for it, and so on. If you have a technical representative there or someone that's a bit more in depth with the requirements, they can ask the proper questions, and that saves you a lot of heartache and angst later in the development cycle.
Yeah, but you probably don't want to have the engineer with you in the sales process, right? There is some point where you would start participating, probably not sales, but when establishing the goal and thinking of business needs, probably that's the point where we should already have a cross-functional team that would include business and technical people to analyze.
Exactly, scope definition. If I'm going to call it scope definition, I think that's where it's really, really critical that you have everyone at the table represented.
I read about recently a double diamond model in product development, which states that people most of the time decouple the solution space from the problem space, and they shouldn't be decoupled. And many times, some people are involved into analyzing the problem, and other people are involved in building a solution for that problem. And this is thought as linear process, but actually to be able to create the right solution, you have to recheck on the problem from time to time when you're developing. And this goes like an infinite loop where the same people who actually make some steps to resolve the problem have actually transparent.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
I was cut off by the AI.
Your AI killed me, Bogdan.
I'm sorry, I'm going to improve it to be more user-friendly. Okay, so this is going to be the last topic that we have actually for tonight. So I'm really curious to hear the insights that you guys had from the groups. So, leading by example, previous session.
I can offer myself as tribute once more.
Thank you, Victor. You have been resurrected again to offer yourself as a knowledge sacrifice again.
We had a really constructive conversation. First of all, we had examples where Scrum Fall is actually needed because in order to get working on implementation, you need to have all the documentation ready in order to receive certain approvals. It's written there. I should also read from there. And then we've discussed how we saw the other side of the coin, where my example, I've seen a QA team that was working outside of the Agile team in a more waterfallish way. We used to call it iterative waterfall, and I think that's the common name. Scrumfall sounds better. And the consensus is that there are improvements if we have everyone in the same room.
Okay. Right on time.
Right on time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Victor, for sharing that one. Group 2. What do you have as add-ins, or what were the insights?
Does anyone want to take that? I can offer myself as tribute just to match Victor's 2 for 2. So
Please go ahead.
all right. So
I'm gonna
our
cast the
conversation.
spell.
Ta-da! All right. So our conversation for everyone here was that we're kind of reaching the same conclusion that sometimes it is required. One of the key takeaways is we do need everyone to be present for as many phases of a project lifecycle as possible. We were going into the conversation, whereas where you're scoping out a project, it's important to have people, the proper people with technical background, technical expertise in the phases of conversation when you're nailing down the scope, because that way they're able to ask the proper questions and raise the proper risks and everything. A very good point by Mihai there was that frequent releases, customers direct, and I'm going to tackle these two at the same time. Customers do prefer to know, okay, when is my project going to be done and when are you guys going to go for the deployment and everything? And while they're interested in, let's say, the big prize at the end of the rainbow, you can match that with frequent releases while you're building everything. So it's about taking care of your customer as well, even though you're working in somewhat of a parallel of an expectation there. So while it is, let's say, not ideal, it kind of works. It does work for most enterprises.
For me, it's very interesting to see same group thought about customers, direct beneficiaries prefer waterfall due to predictability, and we also have the sticky with frequent releases can match with customers' needs for deployment. That's very interesting. Okay, thank you very much for sharing, Vlad. So since it's the last topic, we still have 4 minutes if you guys want to dive more into it, so we can cast the votes. 2 votes down. Everybody finished their coffee, right? That's why you're hurrying up. Okay, so we're not out of topics, but we're running out of time. So we're gonna be stopping the discussion on this third topic. So I'm gonna move it to discussed one. And we still have 2, and as I said, at our next occurrence, these 2 items will be added in the backlog as predefined ones, and new ones will be generated. So don't worry, who added these ones, they'll still get a chance if there's interest at the next session. Without running yet to grab another coffee, hopefully not, I really hope not. So you grab at most a tea for sleeping. We really appreciate if you guys could leave a feedback for the session that we had, but basically doing the same thing as we've done in the beginning, drag and drop a token wherever we feel that was the return of time invested. So this 1 hour and a half that we spent together. And if you have also some feedback for us in terms of what you liked and what would make it perfect. So if you give it a 3, for example, you might add 1 sticky note for us to take your feedback into account as we've adapted during this session to make it perfect for next time. And I'm going to give you guys 1 minute, or you can do it asynchronously after the session. But I'm just going to start the timer.
Looks like we have a majority.
And for sure, somebody cloned himself or had multiple accounts because I see more tokens than people here. So
It's magic.
it's magic, yeah. You guys resurrected yourself too many times, probably. I still see some movement, so I'm not stopping the time box. But I'm taking the liberty for the last 10 seconds just to flag another thing that we have inside our board. It's besides the feedback for the current session, we would also like to assess the need for the incoming sessions that we have. So here at the bottom, Christina will also share the link in the chat. We have a link for a form that has 3 simple questions to answer. Based on that feedback, we will, let's say, incorporate it into the next sessions and adjust it to fit your needs. And without closing yet the session, I'm giving the floor to Mihai to introduce us to our guest speaker that we actually have for the next session.
Yeah, hi guys. So I'm Mihai. Nice to meet you. Happy to see everyone have had fun tonight. And yes, we are going to have similar editions of Lean Coffee or other workshops where we participate, but we actually tend to alternate between a workshop and a presentation. So for the next month, for April, we have a special guest. It's going to be Matt Di Berardino. Matt will join to talk about leadership, and he's going to use a theme from the Ted Lasso show. If you are familiar, if you've seen it, Apple TV show. And the title for his talk will be Leadership to Believe in, Lessons from Lasso. So our schedule is set already for this session for April 15. I think it's a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, but somewhere around that, so middle of the week. And it's same hour as tonight, 6:30. So we're looking forward to seeing you there as well. And for more exciting sessions, check out our group, the LinkedIn group that we have. We also publish there whatever news or forms to fill in for call for speakers. We also have this going still for the next 2 days. I think it's still open, right? And Christina just shared the link now for this. If you want to participate with a talk, like Matt will do next month, please fill in this form for a call for speaker edition for this year. If you want to participate with something, share the topic you want to bring, and we can make it happen. You can take the stage, right, and talk to us about it. That's it from me. And before I close, I want to thank everyone who made it tonight, and especially to the people who participated and took the discussion, and especially to Bogdan, who was very excited to greet us all and helped us move around through this session. I hope to see everyone again soon, even in a face-to-face meetup. I hope.
Thank you very much, Mihai, for sharing. I also want to add something in. Thank you for the, let's say, the thank you for facilitating the session, but I'm really, really curious to hear and see what you guys have talked inside the breakout rooms. So I'm looking forward to the recording that will follow up tomorrow to watch it. So really thank you guys all again for the insights, and we look forward to see you at the next session. So have a nice evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.